First of all, I do apologize for any, noises you might hear. Those will be like notifications and stuff coming in, like Messenger and emails and texts. But I wanted to come on here, and I do apologize also if I'm a little tired in my voice or sound tired in my voice. I did work today. I'll tell you more about it tomorrow when I do a work vlog audio style because, that's a little safer than doing it on camera and such. But I wanted to come on here because in a half hour, basically it's 5 p.m. Pacific right now on Thursday, August 24th. I believe that's what it is today, August 24th. Thursday, August 24th. At around 5:30 p.m. Pacific, which will be, I think, 8:30 Eastern, live on YouTube and Twitch, JD from NY206 of Off the Script and Andrew Baydella will be, basically collabing for the first time since March. Baydella used to be the original co-host with JD when it came to Tuesday Night Titans. And then, of course, his schedule got a little busy and he had some other things to take care of. So basically, JD went through a number of, special co-hosts until he landed, on probably what many consider the best one. And that's, of course, someone he works with in House of Glory, Jason Solomon, the Solomonster. But tonight, in about, like I said, a half hour, 29 minutes from now, at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, maybe by the time you're listening and watching this anyway, him and Andrew Baydella will be discussing the state of AEW situation. Basically, I think he calls it like an emergency state of kind of like an emergency state of AEW. I guess you could say discussion, debate, live stream, that they're going to do between YouTube and Twitch, or on both YouTube and Twitch, I should say. And I don't blame them. I don't think anybody that's a fan of wrestling, overall, I don't think anybody can blame them. I don't think anybody that's a casual fan can blame them. I don't think anybody that's an AEW supporter, lifer, whatever you want to call it, can blame them if they're honest with themselves. I don't think fans in general, even those that just watch, the product, whether it's WWE or AEW or whatever, through various YouTube clips and whatnot, because maybe they're too tired from work or other things are happening and so on. But yeah, tonight they're going to be discussing that, and it's going to be really interesting because they also want to have fans interact. And one of the things I brought up in a super chat, two of them actually last night, with just Alex and Jason Solomon, the Solomonster, if you will, is I brought up the fact that at the beginning of Dynamite last night, basically they had the entire, well, I wouldn't say entire, but they had a majority of the AEW locker room outside of the venue in Philadelphia. I think they were in Philadelphia. Where were they last night? I can't think of it. But they had them outside the venue last night waiting for Jon Moxley and his crew. Just waiting there, getting ready to confront them, attack them, send a message and all that. And the only thing they got after waiting for about 2 hours, most of the show, was Marina Shafir. Because Moxley, Claudio, and Pac and Wheeler had outsmarted them. They knew what was going to happen. They outsmarted them. And a lot of people looked at that and justifiably, again, if they are true and honest to themselves, even the AEW fans would be like, yeah, you just made your entire OG locker room look like a bunch of fools. Look like a bunch of jokes. Look like they don't belong in the same company, if not in the same atmosphere as Moxley and his crew. And that's not a good sign. That's not a good sign. And now they're trying to make Orange Cassidy the leader of the group. They're trying to basically get him motivated to be one of the head honchos for AEW against Moxley's group, there. But here's the thing. We don't know what Moxley's group is wanting. Moxley is coming out every week and saying that He wants AEW back to the way it was. He wants it to be the AEW he became part of at the start. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean being the alternative like it was supposed to be, originally? Does that mean basically having people compete in this ring that do take what they do seriously? They want to wrestle and everything, and basically shed the gimmicks. What is it? What is it that they want? What is the situation? And is it just Moxley and his crew, or is it Shane McMahon behind it? Because all signs seem to be pointing to that. We don't know. But the thing is, now they're trying to change Orange Cassidy to become more serious, to stop acting like to put their hands in the pockets, do the little light kicks, lazy or what's the one I'm looking for? Lazy daisy, if you will, little kicks that he does for show. They're trying to change him to be now the Orange Cassidy that's going to grow from that, to evolve from that. And is that what Moxley's again? Is that because apparently he is one of their main targets. They're looking at him as the face of the company, but it's supposed to be people like Darby Allin, someone that's on the verge of coming back, Kenny Omega. People like, whether you love him or you hate him, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, and so on. And yet, they're going after Cassidy. Why? Why are they going after Cassidy? Well, maybe it's because of the fact that Cassidy represents everything that maybe Moxley feels is wrong with AEW right now. That, Tony Khan is is featuring guys like this who don't take this industry, this sport that they love, professional wrestling, seriously. They just look at it as another day, another paycheck, and they're just having fun when they're supposed to be serious. We don't know. We don't know what it is. And a lot of people are kind of scared of a lot of people are scared at the fact of, what is this really going to turn out to be? What is this really going to turn out to be, in the long run? And I do apologize for that notification there. But the question is, what is this going to be in the long run? What's the end result? Is this all going to basically be Jon Moxley still upset at the fact that he lost a shoot fight to a cook, if you will? Is that what this is about? And he just can't get over it? We don't know. We don't know. We don't know what the situation could be. But again, that's what some people are afraid of, that could be what the whole thing's about in the end. And, a lot of people would look at Tony Khan and be like, so you wasted our time, on this whole situation, and it's actually just Moxley still upset that he lost to a cook. We don't know. We don't know. But one thing I mentioned in the super chat to Alex, the super chat that I mentioned to Alex and Solomonster, and I even brought it up in the thread that JD put out today on Twitter /X for the fan interaction that he and Andrew want as part of their discussion tonight. I basically brought up the fact of either it was me or did anybody notice that the beginning, and this is what I was getting to at the start of this, the beginning of last night's Dynamite, did that not seem familiar? Did that not seem familiar in everything? Did that not seem familiar? Because it did to me. Again, you had the OG originals, as I mentioned earlier, well, some of them, out there, outside of the arena, waiting for Moxley and his crew, and all they get is Marina Shafir after 2 hours. Because Moxley, Claudio, Pac, and Wheeler, as I said, outsmarted them. So, why do I bring this up? Why do I bring this up is to ask, did it feel familiar? Did it feel similar to something we had seen before? And honestly, it did. Because I looked at that. Just Alex actually put up some screenshots. I'm going to try to put them here in the video. You can see them for yourselves. Just Alex put up these screenshots. And the moment I saw it, and the moment I was, I looked on AEW's Twitter and seeing what was going on, and JD was bringing it up, Monster was bringing it up, I was like, this seems very oddly similar to that May 5th edition in 2000, that May 5th, 2000 WCW Thunder episode, where the Millionaires Club, which consisted of Hulk Hogan, Diamond Dallas Page, Ric Flair, some allies like, Horace Hogan, until he went to the New Blood, Bill DeMott, Hugh Morris, if you will, General Erection, and so on, Chronic, you name it. All these people, that were part of the Millionaires Club and associated with them, Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, they were all waiting inside a garage of the Mid-South Coliseum, in Memphis, Tennessee, waiting for the New Blood to arrive. And the moment, they got the knock on, I guess you could say, the garage door or whatever it is, that they lift up to let, the trailer door, I guess you could say, to let, vehicles in or whatever. The moment they did that, you had the Millionaires Club swarm, the New Blood. Well, at least the main faces of them. And here's what's interesting. Here's what's interesting about that. Very similar to what we saw last night on Dynamite, but here's what's interesting. The Millionaires Club, from that start point, had an advantage. They had an advantage throughout the night. You can go on the WWE Hub on Peacock, look up this edition of Thunder, and you'll see exactly what I mean. They had the advantage throughout the entire night. They outsmarted the New Blood. They made the New Blood look like jokes, look like fools. There was a payoff. There was a payoff. Now, you could say the roles were reversed here with AEW, but here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. The difference is there was no takeover or hostile takeover or coup or attempted coup or whatever of, the company, like the NWO once did. No. This was basically, this is about battling for the future of the company, like what talents should be the focal point of said company, over the other. That's what this was about. Here, you have a coup situation, a hostile takeover situation, with AEW against Moxley and his crew, and they're trying their best to defend the company because they want to know, honestly, why is Moxley out to get the company? Why is he out to destroy the company? What is the issue? But the difference, though, like I said, is on that edition of WCW Thunder, like I mentioned, the Millionaires Club had the advantage throughout the entire night. They did. They had the New Blood who had the advantage for weeks on end prior to that, and even weeks afterwards. They had the New Blood in retreat. Here you didn't have that. Here you had Tony Khan make most of his OG roster look like, in front of the whole world. And he wonders, and some of the AEW supporters, whether they want to admit it or not, they wonder why AEW is in the situation right now that it is. And guess what? When I super chatted this to Alex, when I super chatted this to Salamonster, even they were disappointed. Even they were like, "Oh no, this is not good," because obviously I'm not the only one that's made the comparison between what's going on with All Elite Wrestling right now, in 2024, and what happened with World Championship Wrestling in 2000 to 2001. Because again, I asked in an on-screen video, what are fans going to do if the WBD, the portion of the WBD that AEW is a part of, that might have some ownership stake in the company. What happens if that AEW ends up being sold off to another entity and they say, you know what, we don't want AEW as a part of our company anymore. Let's get rid of them. And let's send out flyers let's send out fillers and notices to all the other cable companies and streaming services, telling them not to pick it up either. What are you going to do if that day, not hoping it happens? I hope and pray it does not happen. I hope and pray AEW is around for a while. But what are you going to do if that happens? Are you just going to be like, oh, well, it was just a niche and we just wanted something to, basically fill the void that ECW and WCW left behind? Is that what your excuse is going to be? Huh? Is your excuse going to be like, well, it was just a wrestling fan, trying to run his own company and prove that we wrestling fans at the right opportunity could do a better job and all that? Is that going to be an excuse? Or are you going to be like, look, we get it. Not everybody, has the capability of running a wrestling company and they just need to leave it alone and just, wait it out and be patient and hope for something good to come along in the end? Is that going to be your answer? Because of that third option is your answer, then that's probably the most legitimate and realistic answer you can come with. But the point is, getting back to what I was saying, when you compare the moments, if you will, like I said, Millionaires Club, who are the baby faces, just like the AEW OGs are right now, they at least got a one-up after weeks and weeks of being, pretty much humiliated, pretty much, left to die and everything. They got the advantage throughout the night. They got a one-up. That didn't happen. And you had a similar situation. That's what you had. And that's bad. And you know what's bad about it? What's bad about it is when you can't capitalize on doing the same kind of thing or similar kind of thing, with your OG team and at least give them an advantage or at least give them an advantage to the point that they get some kind of answer when it comes to what Moxley is doing. But they didn't get it. They didn't do that because, again, all Tony Khan did was make his OGs look like fools, look like dudes in the process, and that's not good for any wrestling company. I mean, what's going to happen, if that day, like I mentioned, comes? Pray to God it doesn't, because AEW is a company that's needed around here when it comes to wrestling. But what happens if that day comes? And then one day, Tony Khan, is brought onto WWE television, and he's confronted by Triple H, Paul Levesque, and Levesque's like, so, what did we learn here, Tony, about running a wrestling company when you have no experience? And you know what Triple H's first answer might be to that? Triple H's first answer to him, if not Tony's first answer, is, don't poke the bear, because the bear pokes back. Again, that may not happen. Pray to God it doesn't. Pray that AEW stays around. But the point is, what are you going to do if that moment happens? I'm just asking because right now, it seems that we are getting closer and closer and closer to something like that happening. And you die-hard AEW fans need to acknowledge that. Yes, we know that a lot of you fans just love pro wrestling. I mean, let's be honest, okay? We all know that the reason you love the flips and the kicks is not because it's impressive. It's because the freaking MMA, the UFC, Bellator, Pride FC, all of them did it first. And companies like Ring of Honor and so on just latched onto it. And that filtered to the likes of WWE and TNA. And you have not. And the thing is, it's been around ever since then. You cannot watch a wrestling match with a man or a woman without that kind of stuff being shown. And you have to admit that's why you enjoyed it, because it came from mixed martial arts. That's why you enjoy it. That's why you enjoy it. You need to admit that. But again, the question I have is, what are you going to do if that moment happens? Not saying it will, but what are you going to do if that moment happens? What are you going to say? What's your answer going to be? I don't know. I don't know what your answer is going to be, but I can tell you this. If it's, like I mentioned earlier, the answer, hey, we would just wanted an alternative to replace our, ECW, WCW, and, hey, we wanted to prove a wrestling fan can actually run a business, but maybe they shouldn't. Those are questions you need to have answers ready for, in my opinion. But yeah, getting back on topic, because I know I'm going a little off here. The thing is, when you look at last night's Dynamite opening, and you compare it to that moment on WCW Thunder in May 2000, the big difference is, at least in its dying days, WCW knew how to make stories work. They knew how to basically advance stories as best they could, whether they made sense or not. Here, this didn't advance the story any further than just making the AEW OGs look like idiots. That's all it did. That's all it did. Because, like I was trying to say earlier, if you're going to redo a scenario like that WCW Thunder from Memphis back in 2000, almost 25 years later, then you need to do it in a very identical fashion. You need to basically allow, the OGs that are fighting off Moxley, trying to defend the company against Moxley's clue, you need to get them to at least get their hands on someone like Claudio or Pac, or maybe even mostly Wheeler, who's one of their own, and get them to confess to them something that might, gain some interest. Get people, finally talking and be like, oh, okay, now we see where they might be going. But we didn't get that, did we? We didn't get that, did we? No, we didn't. Instead, what did we do? We got the OGs looking like idiots. That's what happened. But I've said all I can say here, guys. I recommend tuning in live, if you haven't already, or at least listening to the replay later on YouTube and Twitch, mostly YouTube, between Andrew Baydella and JD. It's going to be interesting to hear what they have to say on the state of AEW. But guys, that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. I know I sound like I went all over the place here, but let's be honest. Who did not see similarities to that May 5th, 2000 edition of Thunder when it came to last night's opening and throughout the night on Dynamite with the AEW OG? Let me know. Comment below, like the video, ring the bell for notifications. And until then, guys, I will talk to y'all later, but give me your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you have to say on this.